exploitation of the have-nots or whatever. So this is roughly the background of the project. And what I did was I asked the NGO to take my place in the gallery. And what I did was I asked them to put up all their, what do you say, leaflets, pamphlets, all the material that they kind of use usually to put, to kind of replace or rather take my place in the gallery. And what I did was I made these kind of tags, which I was hanging all over London. And the tags had, of course, as you can see, a carrot which had market access, fair trade written on it. And, of course, the caption written on the backside. So this is basically to say that the WTO keeps dangling carrots in front of developing countries. So, so I was kind of dangling carrots all over London. And I had actually formed an email ID and hoping that people would write back to me and I would be able to have a dialogue, because I'm sure people found carrots hanging all over very curious, because I did hang like tons and tons of carrots. I used to wear a jacket and have all my pockets full of these tabs, and I would just keep getting off at every station on the tube and keep hanging them everywhere. Of course, I ran into trouble with the cops and everything was confiscated and I had some problems, whatever. But then, so not a lot of people wrote back to me, but that was just like an early experiment at trying to, have a dialogue or try and talk to people about what I was feeling or whatever. So also these tags, I made a separate set of these tags which had these gold and silk tassels which were given to the shops, and they were sold for £1 each, and all the profits went to the NGO. Okay, now this is Unicell. Latika has already introduced it. I then set up this, this cell, which is the public, which is called the Unicell Public Works Cell. And it's actually a way of satirically looking at what I see around myself and, rather than, just get angry, try and create maybe a debate, try and talk about it in a way, in a satirical way. I've done quite a few projects through this, but I will talk of only one or two projects. I don't know, I think I've put only 2 projects over here of that. This one was called Venice of the East. This was done in 2005. And, there's always talk of making Bombay into a world-class city and making it an attractive destination for TNCs and MNCs. So, these are just some rough statistics about the kind of money was allocated for, for sprucing up the city. And in 2004 and 2005, there was a major drive of dishousing people. There were, the municipality and the government of Maharashtra, they just went with bulldozers and raised a great number of shanties all throughout Bombay. That was basically because they occupy prime land and they wanted to free up all that land so that it could be given to builders and developers, of course. And the whole problem with this is these people who live in the shanties, of course, everybody uses their services because they are your dhobi, your bai, your driver or whatever. But somehow you don't want them, you don't want to see them or see their houses. So they have to be picked up and thrown on the outskirts of the city, and they have to somehow then look after their own livelihood. So it's like a strange situation where the citizen of India is not given a chance to, be in the city, and you want foreign, foreign investment to come in. So you're giving a chance to all the TNCs and MNCs to come in and make their money. What Unicell did was, Unicell kind of printed these letters, and I got these rubber stamps made and tried to make it as official as possible. And I had these little brown paper envelopes, and I actually went and posted these letters, hand-delivered these letters all throughout Bombay, starting all the way from Goregaon till Cuff Parade. And can you read the letter, or should I read it out?
Just read it.
Okay. Basically, it was like an eviction and demolition notice. So it said, "Dear Madam, Sir, you are hereby informed that the premises that you live in is to be demolished before the commencement of this monsoon. Under the new urban renewal scheme, a major project of building canals from Powai Lake is to be undertaken. Actually, what UNICEF suggested was, rather than making Bombay, because the first mayor who came said he wanted to make Bombay into Singapore. Then the next guy said he wants to make Bombay into Shanghai. So UNICEF said, okay, hang on, let's not make it into Singapore or Shanghai, let's make it into the Venice of the East. So a major project of building canals from Powai Lake is to be undertaken. The building that you currently occupy is along canal route number so-and-so. He will be provided alternative housing at rehabilitation sites like etc., 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 which are like absolutely at the back of beyond of Bombay. A network of canals will run from the lake throughout the city. Now this is actually a totally absurd proposition because that's the size of the lake. And all the projects that UNICEF kind of suggests are absolutely absurd because it's to point out the absurdity in the way the development of the city is happening, the totally lopsided approach. Anyway, so a network of canals will run from the lake throughout the city to solve the acute problems of congestion of traffic as well as drinking water. Mumbai makeover, and it actually has Shanghai scratched out and then Venice of the East. See so and so. So I had created pages on my website which actually had a lot of details about the demolitions that had taken place. So it had a lot of articles, it had a lot of actual facts and figures about the demolitions. So I had given an address for the people to go to. And actually if people went there, they would have realized that this is actually not a real project. But a lot of people got actually totally fooled by this letter, and a lot of people, and I got tremendous response on this. I didn't get much of a response on the carrots thing, but this I got like a tremendous response. People wrote back like crazy, and I mean it was like absolutely my only task to keep replying to these people, which is I thought very satisfactory for me, satisfying for me. What I could do was I could actually talk to people. I delivered about 6,000 letters like this. Well, it's not such a big number, but at least I guess if 6,000 people I could talk to, which is 6,000 households actually, which could actually mean maybe 25,000 people if you say 4 people per household. And people really wrote back like acidic mail. Some of them actually had even booked police cases on me. There were also some idiots who wrote to me saying that they really liked the idea of this project and that they had some engineering firm and they would like to be part of this development and how they could be involved or whatever, etc. Anyway, but then there were other people who had major problems about how they are going to commute to their workplace, how their children are going to go to school. So it's like, I mean, it's like when the shoe's on the other foot, it hurts, right? I mean, till now, it was the other people who were getting dishoused, so that was not a problem for you. So suddenly when it's you who are a middle class person or an upper middle class person, these were delivered only to middle and upper middle class localities, you cannot be touched because you are a citizen of Bombay. And even though a lot of people, I mean most of the people whose houses had been demolished, they had voter IDs. I mean I know because I've been working with them. I know because I've done workshops with them and I'm involved with NAPM even when they were at Azad Maidan, through Open Circle also we were doing projects with them. So actually even on the website, the kind of data that I had was because I had access to all the kind of press releases that were coming out from the government and from the protester side. So, and not all of it was actually getting printed, of course. So that's how I started putting it all up on my website so people could read it even if the press was not actually talking about it. Because as one knows, press gets tired of talking about an issue after some time. While those people kept staying there, in the Azad Maidan and protesting, the press just lost interest. So anyway, so I kept uploading the press releases on my website so people could read. Where was I? Yeah, well, so yeah, that was one of the projects. Okay, now this is another one. This one is also about the Narmada Valley. This is roughly how many dams are going to be built on the river. And the people of the Ghati have been fighting for about 27 years now. They've stopped saying don't build the dam because, they've stopped saying that altogether, even though it has been proved that it's not going to be viable. The kind of electricity that is being touted that is going to be made, or the amount of water that's going to reach Kutch, it's all hogwash. But and what it's doing is it's just dishousing tons and tons of people. It's dishousing all the indigenous people who are actually just living off the land. And yeah, well, they gather berries, they, not to make it sound romantic, but I mean, they live off the land over there, and they don't have papers to prove that they have land, or they don't really own land, but they live off the land. And yeah, they eat fish and berries, and thank God they don't know what pizzas are. So anyway, but it's like, they are not getting rightful compensation for the lands that they are losing. It's really terrible, the kind of corruption and the kind of things that are going. I go to the Ghati almost every year, and I do workshop with these kids of the Jivan Shalas. And it's quite a crazy thing. Because the government keeps submitting action taken reports which says that these villages have been rehabilitated and resettled, which is like absolutely bullshit. Now there was this thing almost every year. Now what happens is that the dam has not achieved its total height, and they are building it part by part. And there's actually a Supreme Court ruling that says before you can increase the height of the dam, naturally the area of the reservoir is going to increase when you increase the height of the dam. So it says that there's a proper ruling that says that unless you have rehabilitated and resettled the people who are going to get affected by the rise in water, you cannot raise the height of the dam. But that's never been, I mean, they just go ahead. Now again in 2006 they were increasing the dam height, and there were villages that had not been resettled and which were being threatened by the waters. So there was a hunger strike that was happening, where of course we know Amir Khan went and made a lot of natak, which was almost just like, what do you say, for kind of a propaganda for his film, Rang De Basanti. Because, I mean, he says all that stuff, and then next moment he kind of retracts everything about Coke and comes in the ad of Coke and says whatever I said was, don't take it seriously kind of a thing. So it's like, I mean, what's your, anyway, let's sorry. Okay, so there was a strike that was going on, and the government was not taking notice of it. It was not even willing to go and open a dialogue. So we have a Bombay support group, and what we decided to do was we decided that we should have a press conference in Bombay. And so what I did was I quickly went overnight to these villages which were threatened by the waters. And these villages actually have been shown with the authorities as being totally rehabilitated and resettled. I went to 3 villages, Nisarpur, Chikhalda, and whatever. So this is how the village looks. This is Nisarpur, and according to the authorities, this has been resettled, but this is how the village actually looked. And this is the rehabilitation site. I went to the supposed rehabilitation sites as well, and this is how the rehabilitation site looks. It just has a board that says Punarvasan Sthal Nisarpur. This just says Prathamik Vidyalaya. So yeah, and then one was burning out CDs during the press conference and actually giving the press this actual images, the actual, what would you say, the actual ground reality that was there. And of course, then after that I did again like a email kind of a project where I sent out a letter, which almost every word in the letter was an active link. So if you clicked on rehabilitation, it would open out to actually what the actual state of rehabilitation was, if it talked about electricity. So whatever, I mean, you could click on all those links within the letter that was sent to people, and it opened to actual facts and figures about the actual situation in the valley. Anyway, so what Unicel suggested was, now since these villages are going to get flooded, and all these people are going to end up in Bombay. So Unicel designed these kind of flotation devices for these people to keep them afloat in their villages so that they don't come to our lovely cities and spoil them. So Unicel designed these kind of objects, and it gave 2 options. One was that, and the second option was to sign on a petition, which it was not a petition made by me, but I'd given a link to a petition made by Aid India. And then this was another project which was called Riding Rocinante, which was again looking at the disenfranchised populace of our republic, of people affected by these mega dams. So I went from Bombay via the Sardar Sarovar, traveling through the Ghati, meeting the people within the Ghati and blogging every night to